Hello, everyone. This is Kristen with IngramSpark. Thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to introduce you to a couple of industry pros. You've joined the Author's Wish Self-Publishing Tools and Solutions webinar featuring Julie-Ann Harper and our very own Deborah Lee. Before I hand you over to our co-host, I wanted to just briefly talk about a couple things. First of all, we'll be live tweeting the webinar, so if you want to join us on that, you'll find a little widget at the right-hand side. It'll either be a box on the right-hand side of your screen, or if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see a little Twitter bird, and if you click on that, the box will appear. We've already preempted all of the handles and everything, so you can just tweet away. If you have any questions during the presentation, we will allow for a 10-minute period at the end of the webinar where our wonderful co-hosts will be able to answer those questions. Any questions that we don't get to within that time frame, we will have Julianne or Deborah answer them, and we'll post those in the comments section on our YouTube channel, which is where the webinar will be hosted after. You'll also receive an email a couple days later with the recording in case you want to listen to it again, share it with friends, or visit our YouTube page and you can listen to it there as well. You'll find a printable version of the webinar deck in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. There'll be a little box widget that will allow you to print it in case you want to print it out, take notes, print it out for later. And this is our first Australian-based webinar. I'm very excited that we are able to get Julianne and Deborah on with us. And hopefully there will be more Australian webinars to come. So be on the lookout for our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, and we'll be announcing when the next one will be. And there's also US-based ones, maybe weird timing, but we do those monthly, and you can also see those on our social media as well. So without further ado, I want to hand you over to Deborah Lee. She is our presence, the face of IngramSpark in Australia, and she has years and years and years of experience in publishing, and she's taken the helm of IngramSpark and really grown it in Australia. So I'm happy to introduce you to her. It's over to you, Deborah. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Kristen. Nice to be here, and welcome to everybody that's managed to come on live. This is, as Kristen said, our first Australia webinar, and it's really, really exciting, and I couldn't think of anyone better than Julie-Ann Harper to steer this ship with us as we sort of learn the ropes. But if anything goes a little awry, that's just because we're all sort of pioneering in this space. I just wanted to put it out there, but we're pretty confident in, the fact that IngramSpark and Kristen has been chairing this for a while now, so we're in good hands. As Kristen said, my background is many, many years in the publishing industry. I started out as a sales rep in the trade side of publishing, and I eventually moved into the academic side of publishing as a publisher. And then when I saw that there was a lot of volatility going around in the publishing industry with print runs decreasing and mergers of companies, and also because I'd been in that side of the business for so long, I thought I needed to extend my horizons and challenge my sort of, platform of comfort. And I found myself with this fabulous opportunity of joining Ingram Lightning Source, which is a whole new world. And what it's opened my eyes up to is the fact that there is this totally radical side of publishing that I was oblivious to, being part of the sort of traditional side of publishing. And obviously with Julianne, I've just been completely, sort of informed, advised. I'm like a little student in the hands of someone who has been at the forefront of this other side of publishing. And Julianne is a master of that do-it-yourself publishing. But I wanted to start with just introducing Julianne to you. Some of you might know her already, but basically when I met with her, I was amazed at her, extensive experience. And I just think with Julianne, I think, the best place to start is tell us a little bit about yourself, Julianne, but firstly, about your career as as an author, I think. That's the most interesting thing for the topic that we're talking about today. If you can start with that, and then I'll pose a few extra questions. But yeah, if you could tell us about what got you going on the writing front and how you went about getting published, that would be great. So over to you.
Okay, thanks, Deb, and thanks, Kristen. I just have to firstly give gratitude to both Deb and Kristen. These two ladies are amazing. They've worked tirelessly to bring you this webinar today, and I just want to give you my big heartfelt thanks. This is just something that I have been wanting to our DIY and indie authors to have access to. This amount of information is going to be difficult to get through, but so I'm going to keep my bit about myself brief. You can see the slide in front of you at the moment. You can see that essentially I started out 25 years ago in publishing, but as an independent author, both as being trade published with McGraw-Hill, and then all in the area of small business management, which is a far cry from the publishing companies that I set up in the last 15 years, which are mainly to do with mind, body, spirit publishing. But that's probably why I'm passionate about ensuring that authors understand that they can do what I've done, which is essentially set up as a self-publisher and grow their own business. And self-publishing is a business. That's the thing that we need to remember. So over the years, I think I've done over 47 small business management, co-authored 47 small business educational titles. I've done a number of children's books, and I think, if anything, the ones that I'm more passionate about are the ones that I've probably written in blogs, which is all about helping authors to go down the DIY or indie path. So they're not in traditional books, but they're definitely on blogs, and that information to me is gold, ensuring it gets out to the masses.
Yes, I must say that, what you've done with your experience as an author and then as a publisher, setting up Pick-a-Woo-Woo, setting up Mind, Body, Spirit, as publishing companies and helping actually publish under your imprint, helping many authors along that route who seeing their books come to fruition. That's another aspect. So you've written, you've acted as publisher, and then you've set up this DIY publishing arm and, of course, your website platform, Author's Wish, which when I look at it, and which will be, I guess, the focus of your talk today, when I look at it, I think, how altruistic is that? You're actually giving this treasure trove of information and materials and resources to authors to help them publish themselves. What's in it for you, and what was your motivation behind that process? Because I think it's an absolutely amazing gift you're giving to the audience.
Thanks, Deb. Look, as a company, we've provided author services to Lightning Source and Ingram. Well, not for 10 years, but for 10 years we've been helping basically authors self-publish, but as an author services company. But not everybody has those has that as they don't necessarily have the funds, they want to do it themselves. So there was a plethora of authors who just wanted the information to go out there and self-publish. So firstly, we've been an advocate of IngramSpark and Lightning Source since their inception. So it was about getting the information out of my head and getting the information that we've spent more than nearly $20,000 in software training and marketing strategies and services and tools. So we knew that some were worthwhile, some weren't. Some weren't just relevant to the DIY author, but many of these solutions were shared with authors independently as we were dealing with them. And I wanted a platform that we could actually bring one list, one platform that actually shows what tools are available and help them reach the platform IngramSpark. So what tools will allow them to create an interior design that is compatible with the specifications of IngramSpark, or what cover options do they have? So, and of course marketing was one of those, or promotion was one of those areas that authors just tended to leave alone because they didn't know what to do. So essentially it was just about creating that one platform where we could actually forward them to that one platform so that they could actually find all the information they need, and especially leading them to IngramSpark.
which is fabulous. And of course, IngramSpark is the global distribution platform. So once the books are produced and they're uploaded, we're able to make those books available to the whole world or to whatever regions the author requires. I think so without further ado, you could probably go through the process of, the publishing, what it is to publish a book from go to woe, if that's,
okay.
An opportunity, an entree for you.
Thanks, Deb. So thanks very much for everyone who's actually logged into the webinar. Can't wait to whiz through these slides and make sure that you've got the basic of information. I'm going to probably go quite quickly in the first bit of the section on writing, because I really want to get towards the latter part where it's to do with publishing and promotion, which is the areas there that most indie authors tend to find it a little bit difficult. So self-publishing takes time. That's the obvious part. There's two options. You either pay for the professional services or author services, or you use your time to find suitable tools or services that can minimize your costs. So the whole idea is that you've got to find tools that allow you to create a professional product and then use the platform IngramSpark to print, distribute, whether it be a print book or an e-book, and then that's the best possible solution for the DIY author. So when we come to the publishing process, I'm just waiting for the categories are write, edit, design, process, publish, and promote. So as I said, we're going to skim through the first probably two with write and edit, because essentially most authors have been there, done that. They're in the writing stage. They know of tools. They don't necessarily use those tools, but it's, as I said, these are things that you need to probably understand, that there are tools out there that make your life so much easier. So the writing tools, anything in red is what I'm going to quickly cover, but anything in blue underneath there are categories on the Author's Wish website as well. So you might go, well, what in goodness gracious is a plagiarism check? Why is that there? Well, essentially, sometimes, these tools allow you to just double check that your work is actually kosher. Whereas with the writing tools or services, there is a whole plethora of a platform that allows you to look at the writing tools available. So the ones that we have used and our authors have used are things like the Author Toolkit, the Book Startup Toolkit, which is designed to take the doubt out of the creative process. The Readsy Book Editor is a brand new production tool at the moment that we highly recommend to authors who want to write their book, get it edited online, and then and basically go back and forth with their editor. It has made a lot of authors' lives a lot easier when it comes to the editing process. And as you can see, there's another 3 or 4 underneath that. But once again, this is more the writing at the very early stage. The next stage, of course, is editing, and I use it as a rule of thumb. There's 2 areas in publishing or self-publishing that you really need to concentrate on, and that is basically having it edited and having a good cover. So let's go back to editing. Now, editing tools. In my opinion, you can't beat a physical freelancer, editor. But there are tools, because editing can cost quite a lot. There are tools that will maximize the process without a physical editor on board. So, for example, Grammarly is my favorite. It literally can go through, check your grammar, check your spelling, and it really does improve your work full stop. Even if you had an editor look at it, going through Grammarly first is actually, in my opinion, a really good option. AutoCrit is another one. Then there's the Editorium is actually done in Word, so it's a Microsoft Word program. So these are all tools that will actually help the editing process without a physical editor. If, however, you wanted to find a freelancer, the website Readsy allows you to find and work with the best sort of like professionals, and they've all been screened before they go on to Readsy. So whether it's proofreading or copy editing or copy and content editing, the whole gamut is available on Readsy. So as you can see, we've only mentioned like 10 tools, and there's a plethora of tools out there. Now, the other section of the self-publishing process is obviously design. For me, that is probably the part that, as an author services provider, we spend most of our time doing. But a lot of independent or DIY authors, they don't have necessarily the funds to work with InDesign, which is probably the industry standard when it comes to cover and interior design. But they want to be able to access, software that gives them the ability to create a professional product. So you don't want it looking like a dog's breakfast, and that's probably an Australian term for our US authors, but you do want it looking professional before you use a platform like IngramSpark. So the DIY interior layout. Now, we have a number of ones that we use or promote to authors, and independently, they all have their own pluses. Book Hour is a software program which is a very simple program for anyone who's doing primarily just a novel-based book. If you're starting to use images or tables, it can be a little bit harder to use that program, but it's still an exceptional program. And really all you're doing is taking your Word document and putting it into a software tool online. And it takes out all the formatting issues that quite often authors do, like double spacing after a full stop or too many carriage returns between paragraphs. I mean, these are all formatting issues, but the software programs like Book Hour just delete them and then provide you with a really acceptable interior design for your book that meets the specifications of IngramSpark platform. There's other templates there that you can see, such as book design templates, which we've been using for many, many years. So, for example, an author might come to us and say, look, I want you to do my cover, but I don't have the funds to be spending, getting it interior design laid out in InDesign with your professional designers. So book design templates, they're Word-based or InDesign for those people who have got the skills in InDesign. And we've been able to have authors, access those templates and lay out their books in Word, and it looks really acceptable. So I know, Deb, you've actually had people and you've seen their templates come out of book design templates or Book Hour, and they've been exceptional.
Yes, absolutely. I think the simplicity, especially with Book Hour, was that demonstration that we had here with Book Hour, because it's local, was the usability factor was quite amazing.
Yeah.
And you can choose your font.
Web-based.
Yep.
And then there's those web-based ones as well, Deb, and our attendees. You can Pressbooks is one that that's been around for a long time, and it's what we call a fully featured publishing tool, and it actually now has the ability for you to do your own covers. So the beauty of Pressbooks is that it's all online, and they have some really good support material as well to guide you through the process. Once again, Readsy is a book editor, which I think is not just a book editor, but it does actually have access to, once again, verified professionals who are interior designers or cover designers. So, these are platforms that any independent or DIY author can access. And you've just got to do your due diligence and see what fits your needs. So not everyone's going to want to use Book Hour. Cost-wise, there's very little in each of those that are available. Readsy, you are using professionals, so it's a little bit more expensive than the others, but once again, you're using professionals. I'm just flicking over to the next slide. So design tools. Now covers. Now covers are notoriously like they say, covers are the windows to your, covers are the windows to the book, or the eyes to the soul. We have seen the most amazing DIY covers, and we've also seen DIY covers that are just appalling. So the thing is that when you're going to create covers, whether it be from scratch or being pre-made covers, you need to remember, no matter which way you go, is that most of your covers are only ever viewed as a thumbnail image. So look at the size of your thumb, maybe it's thumbnail, and it's probably 2 sizes of that. And that's what they're found online. 70% of sales happen online. So when you're designing your cover, no matter which tool you're using, you've got to keep in mind that it's going to be seen as a thumbnail. So some of these tools allow you to shrink it and view it, and we would always recommend that you do that. Canva is an excellent tool for those people who've got no design ability whatsoever, but it just makes it really easier. At the moment, it's only available for ebook covers, but it won't be too long before it's going to be available for print. And literally, it's a drag and drop situation for the independent author to just drag an image across and lay it out. It's we've used it for flyers, we've used it for absolutely everything. We've used it for magazines, we've used it for blogs. It really is a great tool for independent authors. The DIY book covers, you know, this sort of like saves you learning graphic design from scratch, and it's once again it's another platform to allow you to create your cover. So under covers, we do actually have, for example, pre-made covers, crowdsourcing sites, and freelancers. So all of this information is on Author's Wish with a little bit more content to it. But if I can just point out with design, under crowdsourcing sites means that you're putting up either under 99 Designs, Design Crowd, or Crowdstream, you're putting up a project. So under, as an example, 99 Designs, if I want somebody to generate a book cover for me, or a logo, or a publishing imprint logo, whatever it may be, I opt to put it up under, and there's different pricing levels. And then it goes out to their, you know, thousands and thousands of designers who choose to submit a cover design or whatever it is that you've requested, and you basically can get up to 30, 40, 50 different designs before you have to choose. So where professional designers would probably make 4, 5, 6 covers at the most, under crowdsourcing sites you're going to get a greater range, and then you choose that design which suits your needs. And ultimately, you've had 30 different designers working for you. So it's not something that a lot of authors actually know about, but it's something that now these sort of sites are cropping up left, right, and centre. But these 3 are the ones that we've used in the past, or our authors have actually used with great success. Under pre-made covers, you can see that these are covers that essentially they're already pre-made. They're on the screen. All you need to do is change the title, change the author name, and you then actually have a pre-made cover, whether it's for an ebook or a print book. And obviously then the best thing with any of these covers that you should always request the source files. So for example, under self-pub, if you've asked for the PDF of the cover, you would also ask for the source files if it's been done in Photoshop or InDesign, because if they do need any manipulation whatsoever to meet the IngramSpark specifications, you can control that, and you essentially just provide that to somebody who can actually do, whether it's an author service company or whether it's through somebody through Fiverr, it's going to be easy enough for you to do when you've got the source file or the native file. Once again, if you want freelancers to be looking at, designing your interior, Reedsy is probably one of my preferred options because they're professional providers. BiblioCrunch is similar. Fiverr is probably something that a lot of people may know about. I tend to use Fiverr for more not things to do with design, because you're using people who not necessarily have the professional skills needed to make sure that it's a really good cover or interior layout. But I use Fiverr for a lot of little things, like, for example, making sure that our web is, submitted, your website is submitted to all the search engines, or doing a couple of small flyers, or making it into a 3D cover, or all of those small fiddly things are absolutely fantastic on Fiverr. And so for basically $5 or $10, which, it's very little cost, and you basically get some of these items that you will need, particularly when it comes to your marketing and promotion side of things. Anything I've missed there, Deb?
I think that's fantastic. With the crowdsourcing, so do these designers just populate it with their designs free of charge, and then you pay the person that you've chosen? Is that how it works?
Yeah, you only pay for the one that you select, yeah.
So a lot of people are doing a lot of work for free in the hope.
Well, and that's basically why they call it crowdsourcing. So once you've got, for example, if one design comes through that you really like, you can basically choose that and they'll manipulate it accordingly. But you can also, quite often, a number of our authors, what they've done is they've actually tested the covers. So what they've done is they've actually gone out to their beta readers, or they've gone out to people who are just to their own database, or from their own author's platform, and they've tested the covers. So they might get 2 covers, or when they come through on 99 Designs, they basically have 30-odd different covers there. You can test it with your readers and your marketplace, because at the end of the day, your readers are the ones that need to guide you as to the cover, rather than you going, oh, I like that design. Quite often it's the wood from the tree scenario. You really can't see what you need to see, whereas your readers will know straight away this is the cover that you need to actually use. So therefore, from a crowdsourcing site, they're brilliant when it comes to basically giving you the ability to test the marketplace before you go live on Ingram.
Which is absolutely fantastic. It's a form of market research that an independent author can conduct. Excellent.
So now we're moving on. And as I said, I'm giving you the abridged version of what's actually on the Author's Wish website, and I'm only covering certain parts of the process, as you can imagine. But when we come to process, there's different sections under process. It really is important to, there's items that authors at this stage really have little or understanding of, and nor should they have to understand everything about publishing before they start. But it is a good place to really understand that you need to know a little bit more before you sort of throw the book into the Ingram platform and just hope on a wing and a prayer that if people are going to find it. So, for example, keyword research and category selections is one of the most fundamental aspects of publishing. Yet it's the part that most people really have little understanding of. So, really, what it's about is the metadata. So, keywords and categories are so important when you're publishing your book. But this metadata is imperative for web algorithms, so to search or locate your book. But then we go, well, what are my keywords? Quite often an author will just select what's in their title or their name, or they might say fantasy. But the reality of it is that those metadata will make the difference between a book being found or a book being lost in the plethora of books that are out there. So there are some simple tools that are available that allow you to actually go and research what your keywords are. Now, we used to use Google as a popular keyword tool for public use, but that actually has been replaced these days, and they don't necessarily give you what we were able to actually provide authors with in terms of keywords. But these tools that are now up on your screen, they actually work. They may sound like they're Kindle related, but we use them for authors finding their metadata or their keywords for Ingram. And of course, when you upload to Ingram, you are actually asked what are your keywords and what is your book description. So the more words you have that are in there that are relevant to search engines, the better for the title of the book. So for example, what I mean by that is if you say, for example, KD Spy there is, Kindle Spy, if you find a book that is similar to your book, say top 10 in Kindle, and you want to know what book categories they've actually classified their book in, you want to know what their metrics are and what choosing the right categories and the keywords for a similar book. So the only way you can do that is using these little tools, which are quite inexpensive, and you can actually then basically spy on, books that are actually, top 10 in Kindle and find out what their metadata is and create similar. So it's not about copying, but it's about making sure that you have the most relevant keywords so that Google Chrome will actually find your book when it does searching. And obviously for book searches, full stop. Kindle Samurai is another one which basically helps you find the category and the best keywords and the overall traffic. So these keyword research tools are fundamental when it comes to finding out what you need in terms of your metadata when you're uploading on Ingram. Does that make sense, Deb?
I think so. And just out of interest, what sort of cost are you looking at?
Kindle Spy is something like around about $37 US. I think Samurai was about 67, but you'd have to just click on the links on the Authors Wish website and they'll take you directly to their site. I mean, I can quickly do one now and just Kindle Spy. And I'm almost positive. So they're not huge costs. That was one of the main reasons about creating this, is not to give you ones. There are other keyword research tools like SEO Rush, and they're more expensive, but they are definitely quality sort of like products. But we're talking a lot more expensive than ultimately some of these smaller tools that I've just shown you. Just clicking on Kindle.
Well, it's relatively inexpensive, yeah. And given the importance of metadata when there's so much content out there, it's probably a really essential part of the equation.
Yeah. Kindle Spy is $47. And of course now I've actually activated it. Okay, so moving on. Personally, I like Kindle Samurai. That's my favourite. So, but I know a lot of our authors have they spend so much time playing on it that they said that they get stuck in just the euphoria of working out what all this information is and why they need it. But it is essential to the whole metadata process. In Publish, of course, the two platforms that we have used and many of the attendees that I can see who've actually joined have actually been through Pikawuru, or our author services company. You would know, because we've set you up with IngramSpark and Lightning Source, but mainly IngramSpark, that this platform gives authors the ability to control, to market and to promote their work. So you're not having to go through a pay-to-publish or a vanity publishing arrangement. You are using the exact tool that trade publishers and pay-to-publish arrangements are using. You own your ISBN. You own your the platform in the sense that you own the ability to check your sales, check your what's working, what's not. So, for example, you go and do a marketing campaign, you want to go into the dashboard and make sure that, the sales have been recorded if it hasn't worked or if it is working. So you have complete control of your dashboard for your book. For me, IngramSpark was an absolute gift to the world of DIY and self-publishing. And once again, I promote that because I believe in it. And being in the publishing game for so long, and particularly with Australian authors, this is a platform that you need to probably look at as your primary platform. Australian authors have tended to go across to CreateSpace thinking that that is the only platform available to them, and yet it is not. IngramSpark is basically a platform that gives you the greatest reach and frequency and distribution outlet for your product. And your book is a product. So Lightning Source tends to be more for authors who are doing 30 or more titles. So we primarily promote IngramSpark because a lot of people aren't at that level at this stage with for 30 titles. Would that be correct, Deb?
Yeah, and IngramSpark has been created with that smaller publisher and indie self-publisher market in mind, but it also allows you to put your ebooks up in the same platform, so that's also quite a differentiating factor to Lightning Source. And it's very user-friendly. It's more modern in its space. So I think because it's been developed in recent years, and it's truly international, as Julianne's just said, with our local Melbourne-based facility printing locally and the UK, as well as about 4 or 5 different facilities in the US. And we do also connect to international partners. So you've really got global reach. CreateSpace is sort of American in its focus, as you probably know. And it owns, CreateSpace will promote the books on Amazon. We're promoting books via Amazon as well as 39,000 channels across the world. So it's very, very broad in its capabilities.
Yep. I just want to go back, if I can, to one of the aspects of publishing is book planning, and like most people just jump in, and go, okay, I'm going to publish a book. And under Under Author's Wish website, you'll find that there is a section on book planning, and one of the, there's a number of tools under book planning that really are just one of those ability to see everything from the beginning to the end. So, we say that self-publishing is a creative, tsunami. Writers see their creative visions expand as they edit and design their books, but everything seems possible and achievable and wonderful. But, then all of a sudden, you get your first, you have to put in your first tax return, or you've got to put, for in America, you have to put in your W-9 and wonder what they're supposed to do with that. So, there's under book planning, there's actually some wonderful tools like Publishing Business in a Box that actually allows an author to understand the whole process as one tool. And then there's, you really need sometimes to have that additional information before you go into the actual publishing process. I've always said it's better to ask the questions up front than to have to answer concerns and queries at the other end. And these can be simple things that you've overlooked, like setting up a publishing name versus your own name. These are technically they're legal issues that you need to sort out in the very early stages. So under book planning, there are a couple of tools under there that I really believe would actually help authors who don't have a fuller understanding of the actual process. Also with crowdfunding, once again, a lot of authors don't know the sort of simple costs involved in setting up their books. So crowdfunding is actually a relatively new method of raising capital through the collective effort of your friends and family and customers and individual investors for your publishing venture. So that's once again part of the book planning process before you even commence, rather than going down the path of getting a designer and only being able to afford a designer. You might be able to actually put your book up on PubLaunch or Publishizer and actually get the funds available to get greater reach and exposure for your book before you even publish. So that book planning stage is actually quite important as well. Marketing tools. Oh, my pet project, my pet love is marketing. Deb and I quite often speak for hours on marketing and what marketing tools and promotional tools are available for authors. Unfortunately, the most indie authors or DIY authors have this misconception that build it and they will come sort of scenario. Once I set it up on Ingram, you know, there's going to, Ingram having the largest distribution channel available, there's this misconception that they will have thousands and thousands of readers and purchasers of their product, their book or e-book. It doesn't work like that. It's a bit like having, you've got to promote and market and let your readers know that your book is available. Yes, it's going to be on a number of different distribution channels that Ingram has available, including, you know, Amazon, Booktopia, you know, all of those larger sort of platforms, but you still need to let your readers know that it's available. So marketing and promotion is probably the most important part of the process, because there's no point in spending all the time, effort, writing, getting it edited, getting it interior design and cover and all of that, you know, the hours that you've put into it just to put it up onto a platform and think that everything is just going to automatically happen in terms of sales. There are a number of different marketing and promotional products available. There are, as you can see on that list, there's social media tools, there's author platforms, there's book reviews, there's things like a landing page or a website. I prefer landing pages than websites, but that's just a preference. Creating a website and having, you know, websites who are going to host your website, but not at huge fees, at affordable fees, because, you know, at the moment you're a business. You've got to look at every expense and make sure that you can recoup that expense. And selling from your website. So there's a number of different aspects in under Promote that you on the Authors Wish website that you can actually look at and look at in greater details. But for now, under Marketing, you will see that excuse me, that some of my favorite tools is Find My Audience, which is actually still in beta stage, but you can still sign up for it at the moment. And what it is it's like an audience discovery platform for authors and publishers. So it really actually basically goes out. You need to play around with it and to see its worth. But really what you're doing is you're trying to find the social media feeds that will bring back the type of readers that will look at your book. So every book is different. So you can't promote a book that is about, how to play golf, and then promote a book that is a fantasy genre exactly the same way. So, and your audience are totally different. So the Find My Audience tool is actually going to be one of those tools that you can use to find the social media feeds that you can use to promote your product. It's still in beta stage, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. Bookama, which is a fantastic name, and of course it is what it says, it's Karma. It's about paying it forward so that you're letting people know about your product and the new readers. So authors discover and share each other's books and earn karma every time they share. So, you know, these are simple tools that you can play around with that will actually help you promote your product. Author Checkpoint also helps authors to improve and market and write their books. So these platforms, if you go onto the Authors Wish website, there's links directly to them, and then essentially these are ones that I would probably say just spend some time and play around with. Promotional Products is probably one of the bigger ones that we tend to say, look, spend time, money and energy on your promotional products, but also if you were to go and get, say, for example, a publicity expert, the cost is very large. That's the only way I can put it. They're definitely worth their money. However, not many authors have $3,000 or $4,000 to just pay a publicity expert to do some of the items that they can do themselves. So this is the DIY approach to promotional products. And there are a number of author toolkits which we have been using for probably 4 or 5 years that actually are really good for the independent DIY authors. And a number of these, as you can see on the screen now, they're just basically templates. They're templates that you customize according to your product, and then you basically send it out to to local or local, state, national, and then you sort of like build on it, and then international. But they're tools and kits that are just perfect for the DIY author. As an example, we had an author who wanted to have a media kit, and that media, the kits that they can purchase from the links on the website. This media kit was perfect for her. She didn't have the ability or the time, more so, to actually start things from scratch. The media kit just gave it to her in sections. Do this, do this, do this, do this. Then when it came to the time to actually get it out there in terms of getting it onto websites or press release websites, she didn't have the time for that. So what she did is she actually got somebody from Fiverr to do that work for her. So you can mix and match some of the tools that we show you on this website to be able to get that sort of information out. The book launch toolkit, a lot of our authors have been using that in the last 12 months, and it's allowed them to craft, I suppose, the perfect book launch. A lot of people go, well, what is a book launch? This particular kit actually explains what it is for, what you've got to do, when you've got to do it. For me, a lot of authors miss the opportunity of a book launch, and it's probably one of the most fundamental platforms for the beginning of your author platform. So, and it's one of those opportunities that you really only get time and probably have the impetus and energy to do once you've got your book in your hand. So getting a book launch toolkit or doing a book launch is really important for your author platform. Once again, if you go onto the website, you'll find that there's a number of different tools and kits available under promotional products. Those are just some of the examples there. One that has just been brought to my attention recently is Book to Look Biblet. So what that actually is that's actually through Thorpe Bowker. But the Book to Look Biblet is an online promotion solution for the indie author. So what it is, it's an interactive sample of your book, so what they call a biblet. And you can create this quickly and easily. And that biblet is instantly accessible to all online retailers, bloggers and communities, and you can add it to your Facebook page, your website and everything else. So it is a smart little tool that you can use once again as part of your book promotion and marketing. Just going through, there's some marketing courses actually on the actual website as well in terms of how to move forward. These, as I said, once again, you've got to do your due diligence. You've got to work out what will work for you and what will work for others. So we always say authorpreneurs need to know the importance of ABC, assess, buy and create. So only utilize those tools or resources that actually meet your immediate needs. So make sure you undertake due diligence. And I think we're nearing the end here, so we're going to have time for some questions, which is great. Just moving on to, that's a thank you. So I think we're right at the end now. Deb?
Perfect timing, Julianne. Huge. Yes, fantastic. And a huge wealth of information. And I think there are some questions. So I think Kristen was going to take charge of reading out the questions, and we can attempt to answer them.
Great. Thank you, ladies. I want to encourage everyone to use the little Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen. I believe it's in the bottom of your screen. And you can ask any questions of Julianne and Deborah. We have a couple in the queue, so I'll read those off while we wait for some more to come in. One is, are there any Mac-friendly editing tools?
Yes, there are, and on the website you will find they're there. I'll just go quickly through there. There's one that's actually not on there, and it's called Hemingway, which is we've not actually added it, but it's been brought to our attention in the last probably week. It's one that we will actually add to it. So it's under Edit, Tools, Edit. Just going through there, it's what we call editing apps when they're for Mac. So under editing apps, you'll find that there are some Mac tools available there. But as I said, Hemingway is one that will go on. There's Marked 2, which is a markdown previewer, and there's Phraseology, which is used for iPads as well. So that would probably give you a couple, or Hemingway to start with.
Great. Thank you, Julianne. Another one that came in is, how can we prevent illegal copies being available online and coming up in the Google search results?
If they find the answer to that one, they'll be rich. It's actually not the best. The way that we try to encourage authors to think around illegal copies is, it's like anything. You know, when you create a product, next minute you'll find that there's copycat products of it. The only way that you can probably, as a start, and this is really a legal question for a lawyer, a publishing lawyer, but the only way that we have guided our authors to look at this issue is to make sure in the very early stages when they're setting their book up that they actually register. In the US, you obviously have copyright law. In Australia, it's automatically copyright once you've actually created it. A lot of our Australian authors don't tend to access catalogue in publication, which is, submitting it. That information is, when you do catalogue in publication, you then have a way of legally proving that you have created that book, and because it's actually registered with the state and national libraries. So one of the issues in that sort of like illegal copying sort of things is, if you do go down the path of legally trying to bring somebody to task on it, you need to be able to prove that you have copyright. So, there are little things like that that can help you in the process, but there's not very much you can do about, the World Wide Web and how it can recreate. I believe we have to be very careful of what I say around Google at the moment, because, there is a class action around that aspect with, the copying of works. So I might leave that one a little bit alone.
But Julianne,
great.
that's
Thank
really
you.
helpful about the CIP. I just thought I'd pop in there with the CIP data. Do you have a link to that on your website by any chance? Because I think a lot of publishers and authors independent authors overlook that step of the process. And all it is putting that data in the imprint page. They log onto a site and they send a copy of the book to the National Library, and you do have that extra element of protection, as you just said.
Yeah, I don't have it on the link, but we are. I believe that's actually a really important thing. We're going to actually put it under process, and we'll actually put in there the ISBN registration link and the CIP registration link, or the equivalent of in the US. As you can imagine, it's different in every country as to where you would actually register that. So we're going to put that information under process, just so that it can be found easily for clients.
Thank you.
We have a few more here. One is, self-publishers, indie authors, it's been a theme throughout this webinar, they don't have a ton of resources and funds to spend. Julianne, what would you recommend an affordable website platform to build a new author's website on?
Okay, that's probably. Look, I'm a lover of what. If you go to under Author's Wish, you go under Promote. There is actually tools under website and landing pages and website hosting. But I believe that, and this is probably, my background is in marketing. I was a lecturer in marketing for many, many years, and I find authors spend an awful lot of money on websites and then they do nothing with them. So, for example, that would be akin to printing and a book like a flyer, and then sticking it in the top drawer and forgetting about it. So you've just spent thousands of dollars on printing the flyer and then put it in the top drawer and then forget about it. You haven't distributed it. You haven't got it out there to your readers per se, or the people purchasing, customers per se. So a website is exactly the same. A lot of authors just build it and they don't know what to do with it. So if you're going to create a website, then you need to know what to do with it thereafter. So on that basis, I tend to go, look, why do a website when you can be using some professional book pages in less than 10 minutes for what we call a landing page rather than a website? They're very simple, they're very creative, and it's actually called Book Launch. It's on the website under promotion and under website and landing pages. So that to me is the preferred method to do, and they're relatively cheap and they're professional, and it gives you exactly what you need. Their templates are very easy to do. So, but as a bare minimum, if you truly want a website, you just need to know how to promote your website. Otherwise, your money is wasted. So I would suggest, if you're going to do a website, that you, for example, there's Crazy Domains is a fantastic Australian, but they do international website, and they've got templates in there. They're very low cost to actually buy your domain name, use the templates. They're all sort of like WordPress-based websites. They're very simple to use, and that's under Crazy Domains under website. There is a new tool that has just been purchased by Ingram, or a new website. I call it Aereo, but I think it's AER. Kristen, you can probably pronounce it for me. But for me, this has been a game changer when it comes to websites, because once you've created your website, you can integrate your products with IngramSpark from Aereo. How do you pronounce it, Kristen?
You're right. Yep, it's AER.io.
Yeah, so I always call it Aereo, but I think it's Air. But anyway, and really what it gives is it allows you to establish a direct-to-consumer solution for the publisher on your website. So, and look, there's little or no cost involved with that, I believe. And unfortunately, I think they're still in the process of having that available to Australian authors on their website. But I know that the American authors, and a number of those in the attendee list at the moment are American, so that you would have access to that. But for
we're in beta right now, Julianne. So
yep.
We are in beta with IngramSpark customers. So we're hoping to be able to offer it to everyone by the end of the year.
Oh, I can't wait for it. I really can't. I think it's an absolute game changer for our authors. So, and as I said, Crazy Domains, that's up. Sorry, Kristen?
I'm sorry about that. You were wrapping up by saying Crazy Domains is where to go for an affordable website with great templates. And I just want to keep us on track. We've got 2 more minutes, and we've got 2 questions here. So how much would you recommend an average author without a huge following spend on outside tools and solutions for their first book?
Look, for me, it's about doing your numbers, doing simple, so like calculations. If you think that you can sell your book, and you know that, say, for example, it's 100 pages, and the recommended retail price will be around, say, $19.95. My print costs are going to be about $4 or $5. Just round it off, and then I know that I have to sell. I'm going to make profit margins of, say, $10 per book, which is actually quite high, but I'm just using this as an example. If I can get $10 per book that I can sell, then I need to make I have to sell 100 books at $10 to recoup my costs. So go work backwards. So okay, if I can afford $1,000, how many books do I have to sell to be able to afford that 1,000 books? So it's about just using that as a rule of thumb. Work with what you can afford, and then work backwards from that, knowing that you need to sell a certain number of books once it's actually published to be able to recoup that cost. Look, there is no finite figure, but quite often you'll hear it banded around in terms of industry that, you know, to set up a self-publishing as a self-publisher, the cost can be anywhere between $800 and sort of like $3,000. And that depends on whether you're using a professional cover designer, professional interior layout, or whether you're using the DIY approach. So there are going to be costs that you can't get away from. For example, in Australia with ISBNs, you have to register as a new publisher, which is $55, and then you have to buy your ISBNs, which 9 times out of 10 you'll need 10 to start with, because you'll need an ISBN for a paperback and an ebook or a hardback, whichever way you go. So you're up for $139-ish to start with. So it really is sort of like that million-dollar question.
Yes, understandable. Okay, we're out of time, but I want to get one more question in, and this is very specific for you, Julianne. So hopefully, I know this is going to be kind of a loaded question, but hopefully you can answer it relatively quickly. We have audience members that are wondering what the difference is between Pick-a-Woo-Woo, DoItYourselfPublishing.com, MBS Press, and AuthorsWish.com. When would you use which, and who would use which?
Okay, so Pick-a-Woo-Woo is basically our mind, body, spirit for children, trade publishing. MBS Press is what they call a pay-to-publish, which is for somebody who doesn't want to do any of the work, who basically want to hand it over, pay a package price, and get a number of books at the end, and we are the publisher, then that's what they would be using, our imprint under MBS Press. I tend to talk everyone out of that because I don't believe you need a publisher. You can be setting up as a self-publisher. So under Author Services, we spend most of our time helping authors to set up as a self-publisher, as some of those individuals on the attendees list can know because I've set them up myself. And then basically Author's Wish is basically we're providing you with industry information so that you can find the tools necessary for you to go down that DIY approach. If you need help, then come back to us and we can help you under Author Services. But 9 times out of 10, a lot of that information is something that you can source and just activate and find your way through so that you're actually onto the IngramSpark platform where you need to be.
All right, and that is all we have time for. I want to take a minute and thank Julianne and Debbie again today for your time. I'm hoping that everyone that's on the webinar right now got a lot of helpful information and resources that they now have at the tip of their fingers, and hopefully that means there'll be a lot more self-published authors out there, and really happy that everyone could join us today. With that, we will sign off, and thanks again, Debbie and Julianne, for your time today.
Thank you so much,
everyone. I hope everyone's got something from it.